Picture this. You open your electricity bill and your jaw drops. The amount has soared, not because you left the lights on, but because of a government decision made far beyond your city, maybe even on another continent. This is not just a distant nightmare. It is a very real possibility, and it is unfolding right now as the renewable energy revolution faces an unexpected and complex threat: tariffs on the very technologies meant to deliver us a greener future. Let us rewind for a moment. Over the past decade, renewable energy has experienced an explosive transformation. Once the domain of idealists and innovators tinkering in garages, clean energy is now a pillar of national policy across continents. Solar arrays glisten in the deserts of Nevada, wind turbines spin across the plains of Iowa, and battery gigafactories are springing up from the American Midwest to the bustling industrial parks of Asia. The numbers are breathtaking. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being funneled into research, development, and deployment of renewables, with the global green hydrogen market alone projected to reach nearly $90 billion by the end of this decade. In the European Union, leaders are racing to expand solar manufacturing, aiming for a staggering 30 gigawatts of capacity by the year 2025. Meanwhile, in the United States, the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act has unleashed over $100 billion into battery manufacturing and grid modernization since its signing. But beneath all this progress, a storm is brewing. The renewable energy sector is deeply intertwined with a vast global supply chain. Every solar panel installed on an American rooftop, every wind turbine spinning along a European coastline, and every advanced battery storing clean energy for a cloudy day relies on components that often cross oceans and borders multiple times. This interconnectedness, once seen as a strength, has turned into a vulnerability. When international relations sour or new trade policies are introduced, the entire system can be thrown into chaos. Enter tariffs, government-imposed taxes on imported goods, intended to protect domestic industries and create jobs at home. But as economists and industry leaders are now warning, these tariffs may actually be undermining the very future they are meant to secure. A report by the United Kingdom-based analytics firm Global Data paints a sobering picture. According to their research, new United States tariffs on imported solar panels, wind turbines, and battery storage systems are likely to push up costs, not just for companies, but for ordinary consumers as well. As renowned economist Jeffrey Sachs bluntly puts it, tariffs on renewable energy components are self-inflicted wounds. Abigail Ross Hopper, president of the Solar Energy Industries Association, echoes this sentiment. Tariffs generate uncertainty and inflate expenses, she warns. The impact is already rippling through the sector. Investors, once eager to pour money into ambitious projects, are now increasingly cautious. Companies are delaying, downsizing, or even canceling major developments. The uncertainty over how long these tariffs will last and which products they will target next makes it nearly impossible to plan 5, 10, or even 20 years into the future. For an industry where massive upfront investments are the norm and payback periods can stretch for decades, this unpredictability is a major obstacle. Meanwhile, the global race to cut carbon emissions and meet ever-rising energy demand grows more urgent every day. Yet, as with any complex issue, the story has more than one side. Proponents of tariffs argue they are a necessary step to safeguard national security and encourage the growth of domestic manufacturing. Jigar Shah, director of the Department of Energy's Loan Programs Office, is a vocal supporter, insisting, "Building robust domestic supply chains is the only way for us to compete globally and reduce our dependency on foreign manufacturing." He points to the potential for new jobs, increased energy security, and the ability to weather future geopolitical shocks. In Shah's vision, tariffs are a tool to nurture a self-reliant, resilient clean energy industry capable of standing on its own 2 feet. But critics are not convinced. Francesco La Camera, Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency, argues that international cooperation and open trade are essential to accelerate the energy transition. No single country can go it alone, he asserts. Others, like Hal Harvey, advocate for smarter policies that incentivize domestic innovation and manufacturing without resorting to blunt instruments like tariffs. Kingsmill Bond, a leading energy strategist, believes that the basic economics of renewables are already too compelling to be derailed by trade barriers, while Johan Rockström, a climate scientist, contends that we must accelerate the transition, not slow it down with protectionist measures. All this raises a pressing question. What happens next? Will tariffs choke off America's clean energy boom just as it reaches critical momentum, or will they serve as the catalyst for a stronger, more resilient industry? The answer, as with so many issues in global economics and technology, is far from clear. The decisions made in the next few years could reshape not only the United States energy landscape, but the future of the entire planet's transition to renewables. To better understand the stakes, let us dive deeper. If tariffs remain in place or even intensify, we could see the emergence of fully domestic supply chains. American manufacturers, buoyed by policy support, might ramp up production of solar panels, wind turbine blades, and advanced battery systems. Jigar Shah's vision could become reality, a landscape dotted with new factories, skilled jobs, and reliable supply chains insulated from global shocks. The upside? Greater energy security, new employment opportunities in manufacturing and engineering, and a buffer against the disruptions of global trade wars. But the risks are substantial. Tariffs almost always translate into higher prices for the end user, at least in the short term. Abigail Ross Hopper warns that tariffs have created enormous uncertainty and increased expenses for American companies. Project delays, cost overruns, and even outright cancellations are becoming more common, threatening to slow America's progress toward its ambitious clean energy targets. The International Energy Agency has cautioned that such policy swings can chill investment. If companies cannot forecast their costs with reasonable certainty, why would they risk billions of dollars on projects that may not break even for a decade or more? The effects of tariffs are not confined to the borders of the United States. Around the globe, countries are responding in their own ways. The European Union is pushing hard to triple its solar manufacturing capacity by the middle of this decade, seeking to reduce reliance on imports from Asia. In Germany and France, new wind projects are breaking ground, while Poland is emerging as a manufacturing hub for wind turbine blades. In Denmark, the government has launched offshore wind tenders with a capacity of 3 gigawatts, enough to power approximately 3 million homes. In the Asia-Pacific region, floating solar farms are rapidly expanding, taking advantage of otherwise underutilized water surfaces, while India's solar sector has secured hundreds of millions in financing for massive new projects. Meanwhile, the United States is not standing still. Over $100 billion has already flowed into American battery manufacturing since the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, with additional tens of billions earmarked for grid modernization projects in the coming years. Enhanced geothermal systems, a technology once considered niche, are gaining momentum, with pilot projects indicating vast untapped potential beneath the Earth's surface. Investments in advanced biofuels are surging, while artificial intelligence is quietly revolutionizing the way we manage and distribute energy, optimizing everything from real-time grid operations to predictive maintenance and demand forecasting. Let us not forget the role of community solar. These programs are proliferating across the United States and Europe, giving consumers in towns both large and small a stake in the energy transition. By pooling resources, communities can invest in shared solar arrays, spreading the benefits of renewables far beyond the affluent or the early adopters. In fact, recent years have seen record numbers of corporate power purchase agreements, over 17.5 gigawatts in the past year alone, demonstrating the growing appetite for clean, reliable energy among businesses of all sizes. Yet, as the world races to accelerate the clean energy transition, new challenges are cropping up. The price of lithium, a key component in batteries, has sharply declined in early 2025, creating both opportunities and risks for energy storage projects worldwide. On one hand, cheaper lithium lowers the cost of batteries, making renewables more competitive. On the other, it can squeeze margins for producers and slow investment in new mining and processing capacity. Now let us imagine some of the possible futures that might unfold. One scenario is the rise of energy nationalism, in which every country seeks to wall off its industry with tariffs, subsidies, and trade barriers. The global flow of technology and components slows, and each nation is forced to rely on its own resources, for better or worse. In this world, progress may be slower, but supply chains are less vulnerable to international shocks. Alternatively, we might see the emergence of new global trade blocs centered around clean technology, with countries pooling their strengths to create shared supply chains and innovation hubs. A third scenario involves a breakthrough, a global agreement on carbon pricing, for instance, that levels the playing field and shifts the focus from tariffs to coordinated action on climate change. There is also the ever-present possibility of technological leaps. Imagine a future where advanced energy storage systems, perhaps based on new chemistries or even quantum technologies, solve the intermittency problem that has long dogged renewables. Or picture a world where artificial intelligence-driven smart grids dynamically balance supply and demand, making blackouts a relic of the past. In such a world, the importance of any individual tariff might fade compared to the transformative power of innovation. But what does all this mean for you, the viewer? The lesson is simple but profound. Policy matters. Government decisions, whether to impose tariffs, offer subsidies, or set ambitious targets, have a ripple effect that touches every link in the energy chain, from the mine to the factory to your home. The cost of your next electric vehicle, rooftop solar installation, or even your monthly utility bill could change dramatically depending on how this global tug-of-war plays out. For those considering investing in clean energy, be it through stocks, community solar programs, or home improvements, keep your eyes on the bigger picture. Watch not only the technology headlines, but the evolving landscape of policy, trade, and innovation. Remember, periods of disruption often create opportunities for those who are prepared. Many of the most successful investors and innovators thrive on uncertainty, spotting trends and possibilities that others overlook. And here is a little-known historical fact. Some of the world's greatest industrial leaps have occurred during times of trade turbulence. In the 1930s, American automakers were forced to reinvent themselves in response to supply chain shocks and shifting trade policies. Fast forward to the 2010s, and the rapid decline in the cost of solar and wind energy was partly driven by a scramble for alternative suppliers when tariffs and trade disputes upended established networks. Even more recently, in the early 2020s, a record 17.5 gigawatts of corporate power purchase agreements were secured, demonstrating how businesses adapt and thrive amid uncertainty. Could today's challenges spark another great leap forward? It is entirely possible. If policymakers are smart, and if industry leaders are bold, the current turbulence could lay the foundation for a cleaner, more resilient, and more competitive energy sector. But the path will not be easy. In the short term, some pain is almost certain: higher costs, slower growth, and plenty of uncertainty along the way. The bottom line, will tariffs ultimately cripple America's green transition or force it to become stronger and more self-reliant? The answer is likely to be both. In the immediate future, we can expect some setbacks, rising prices, project delays, and heated political debates. But with the right mix of policy innovation, investment, and global cooperation, America and the world could emerge from this period stronger than ever before. So, what do you think? Will tariffs hold America back, or will they ultimately push the industry forward? Is this a moment of danger or of opportunity? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth explorations of the economics and technology that are shaping our world. Your engagement and insight help drive the conversation forward. Until next time, stay curious.